Highlander here. Today we are going to be looking at the achievements for the custom scenario Left to Die. We are going to be focusing on the complete the Left to Die before the 5th night on brutal difficulty achievement called Here Comes the Hammer. From a research perspective, you're going to be getting biomass from killing units and killing structures. So it's important that you know how to spend that, because it's just important to be spent as your resources such as minerals and gas. Now I recommend you go for a medic first and the bunker upgrade first, and that's because we're going to be going fairly infantry heavy. The reason we're going infantry heavy is because unlike say tanks, they can move in and out quickly, especially with the use of stim. And after we've got tanks, Hellions are probably a pretty good idea just because they're more fast units, and Reapers are an especially good idea. Now I can't recommend infantry weapons highly enough, because we're going for bio and because we spend a lot of our time killing without actually copying any attacks during that daytime, or killing from high ground. So we really want that infantry attack upgrade. That's essential. But also don't forget the increased range and also armor for your structures, because planetary fortresses are really the key. So we have 4 entrances to our base. We have 1 main entrance per player, and I'll just quickly note that this is my brother TAdOsile here, who I'm playing with, and it's important to get a buddy if you can for this, because it definitely makes it a lot easier, and I find it makes it a lot more fun. You are going to be looking to set up planetary fortresses at these, and then bunkers and turrets on the high ground. Bunkers and turrets, and you're going to have some turrets along here as well, just the occasional peppered turrets along here and along here to defend your minerals, because they do send some air attacks. You have 2 alternate entrances here and here, and these alternate entrances will get attacked. This more northern one will get attacked on the 2nd night, and a similar story here on the 3rd night. Now from an aggressive perspective, we need to note that we have these vultures, and they're very helpful. The best thing about those vultures is they outrange these infested bunkers. During the daytime, the Zerg do have some structures and do have some units that can hurt you, so being able to kill these off from out of range is hugely helpful. So use vultures to kill these bunkers, and the key points for the more southern player in blue here is this one here, and then running up onto the high ground where you can easily kill this one here. If you approach it from the low ground, be careful, because that's very dangerous, because you'll come in range of the bunker due to lack of sight, unless you're spotting with somebody else from the high ground. You have 2 bunkers here and 2 bunkers here. Avoid this entrance here at the 4 o'clock position, because these 2 bunkers are right at the top of this ramp, so it's hard to get vision while staying out of range, or it's impossible to get vision without staying out of range unless you're coming from other areas of this higher ground. And then there's plenty of defenses here as well, so this is the hardest point to break in the game, and I recommend you leave it for last and try to approach from level ground if you can. For the teal player, or the more northern player, we have a bunker here that is easily taken care of, as well as one here. Similar to before, we have 1 bunker on the high ground, which you can easily sneak through from this position, moving in from about 10 o'clock and then working your way clockwise to get to this bunker here. We have another easy pickings here and easy pickings here. And then we have 2 bunkers here that are on the high ground and difficult to approach, and we have the exact same over here. 2 more bunkers on the high ground that are difficult to approach. You're going to have to just flat out bust through one of those, but it's still easier than that very difficult point I mentioned before. The only last point to mention from what to be aware of when you're attacking is when you're attacking these 2 points here, where there's a hatchery at the 1 o'clock position, and down here where there's a hatchery at the 5 o'clock position. If you kill off units such as roaches and hydras, the hatchery will remake those. So don't So just be mindful that if you're going to push through these areas, you want to be able to push through them cleanly enough to get to the hatchery and kill it. So if you only got a few seconds to go, don't worry about them, because you'll be fighting these units and you're only going to have to fight them again. And in particular for this northern position, this 1 o'clock position, there are 3 mutalisks here. So you need to make sure that you have something that can take care of those mutalisks when you push through. Now, as you're going, if you kill these infested Terran structures, you will get one biomass. And I think it's just useful to note that if you kill these larger ones, like this biodome, you'll get 3 biomass. And if you kill these virophages, you'll get 4 biomass. And finally, if you kill a hatchery, you'll get 5 biomass. And the best thing about killing the hatchery is you're going to be denying production and also denying removing creep if you can take out the occasional tumor as well. And that means that these true Zerg structures will start bleeding and dying slowly during the night time as well. So that's it for that. So we've skipped ahead into the first night, and we're going to be taking a look at some of the particular opponents you'll have to deal with. And the first of these is the Hunterling, and it's the most frustrating and scary unit that you can deal with on a small scale. They have a jump attack ability, as you can see this guy's doing here, and that here in particular is they leap onto the enemy, stunning it and dealing damage to it over time. Now that attack is quite strong, even though their main attack isn't all that strong, only dealing 16 damage. So there's 2 ways to deal with these. You can have all your units on one side so that when the Hunterlings come, you can dispatch them very swiftly. That's definitely one way to go about it. The other way is to prevent them using that attack, and the way to do that is to make sure there aren't any units for them to attack. And you can see this Hunterling up here, he jumps up and he doesn't actually have any units to attack, he only has that structure. So that's the other way you can deal with it, and it's a very, very economical and very, very effective way to deal with it. The other particular units we have to deal with is the Kaboomer, and it's really not all that threatening, and I'm not going to be following each Kaboomer that comes through. They come through, they explode when they die, they don't really do any significant damage when they die. They do spew some acid on your buildings, and that can be quite effective, but they're so slow and unwieldy that really they aren't your biggest threats. They really catch you by surprise, and they always come through these core channels where you focus firing all your units anyways on all the infested Terrans that come through. And for the first night, you have 2 waves of these Hunterlings to deal with very early on. Then, two Hunterlings at each of your main entrances, followed by 4 Hunterlings, followed by 2 Hunterlings and 1 Kaboomer, and then 1 Kaboomer and 1 lone Hunterling. And we'll skip on to night number 2. So here on night number 2, we're introduced to another new species, and that is the Spotter. Aptly named because it will spot the high ground for the Zerg player, and that can be really bad because you're now facing infested Terrans. They're going to shoot up onto the high ground at your units, and you really need to maintain that turkey shoot situation from the high ground. So spotters are really important to focus fire down right away as quickly as you can. And if we take a look at what they can do, apart from just shooting, they have a corruption ability, and you can see this guy's used this on my bunker right here. The corruption ability will use the slime to incapacitate that structure for 30 seconds, and that means Marines inside it won't be shooting either. So they can be frustrating, and it is important to focus fire them down. For that second night, you will start with 5 Hunterlings before you see these 2 spotters, and you will then have 2 Hunterlings and another spotter come for your main entrance, but then you'll have something that hasn't happened before in this level. You'll have something that comes directly for your mineral line, and that is going to be a spotter in the first instance. But you'll then get some Hunterlings that come for your mineral line as well. So we're on the second night now. If before now you haven't gotten a planetary fortress as I haven't, then you are going to be aware of this 12 to 13 minute timing where this spotter and Hunterlings come through, and you're going to probably want to have a stack of Marines here to deal with it. You can see I don't have anything, and I use Marines to deal with it, whereas my by the TAdOsile here, has turrets in the planetary fortress. Definitely by the third night you're going to need to have that planetary fortress up, even though you can get away with it by the second. So let's cut ahead. So we're on night number 3 now, and the first thing we have to deal with is a choker. A choker has a tentacle attack and shoots up to 5 tentacles that pulls targets towards the choker, incapacitating them at the time, and deals damage to them over time. And you can see he's at work on my siege tank over there. Generally speaking, they tend to not pick the best units. He's picked a siege tank, but they're not usually that smart. So the chokers usually aren't the biggest of deals. Often they pick SCVs and all sorts of stuff. So they're there, they're annoying, but don't worry quite so much about them. As for the rest of the third night's important because after having broken through your top alternate entrance on the second night, they're now breaking through that entrance on the third. So you'll have to have some structures ready, and you can see we've gotten some ready up in advance expecting this. So in terms of special units, you'll have the choker, and then you'll have 3 hundlings that come straight for your command center, a spotter, and 2 chokers. Then you'll have another wave with a huntling at your command center, and then finally another 2 chokers that come through there. Now don't forget, on the second night where you get this, where they get this breakthrough at your wall, and the third night where they break through your wall, it is really only infested Terrans and infested Marines. So the units that have that area of effect damage, or that splash damage of the planetary fortress and your tanks, are especially effective at those points, and you don't have to worry quite so much about chokers and huntlings and whatnot. And we can see these guys going to town over here. And we'll cut into night number 4, which is when things really get interesting. So we don't have too much more time to spend on this 4th night, but you'll be facing 3 hunterlings that head straight for your command center, then 4 hunterlings and a spotter, and then after that we'll have a stank, and we'll cut ahead straight to this stank coming through. But while we're doing that, one important thing to note is that most of these special units, as they come through, they're fairly slow when attacking your buildings. They're not super effective, so don't stress. Let them march through your base, work their way through your base, slowly killing stuff, because for you, we're only concerned about killing all the Zerg by the end of this, the following day. So keep your army alive. Don't worry about your base. If that means that you need to pull back right back to one entrance and keep the entire army consolidated, that's fine. Let's see this stank go to work. So he's pretty massive. He's got 5,000 HP and deals 27 damage, which has an area of effect around those blades as well. You can. He's still good to take out. You definitely want to kill him, and the idea is that you should have some planetary fortresses up here. So those planetary fortresses should be able to take the damage with SCVs repairing it. Now we haven't done that in this particular instance, and it's less than perfect, but you don't need to be absolutely perfect. I'm just trying to tell you the best way to do it. So do as I say, not as I do, as they say. But we will really get overrun. The stank did work his way through that entrance, and we will get overrun here. So we'll see that happen. But the important thing to note is, like I said, just let them march their way through. The kaboomers come through here, they take out my planetary fortress. We have spotters coming through this side. They're slowly going to work their way with these hunterlings coming through as well. The important thing is that we hold, we march our way down here, and after that first stank, you're going to have 3 kaboomers that come through your alternate entrances. You're then going to have a spotter come for your CC, 4 hundlings and a kaboomer then at your main entrances, and 2 spotters and 2 hundlings at alternative entrances. You'll then get a second spawn of a stank. These are all great to know, but really at the end of the day, you're just going to have an awful lot of stuff come at you. Don't worry about your buildings. As soon as you've gotten through the night, you can empty your bunkers, send out your SCVs, get everything in attack mode. You are not going to be around on the next night. You don't want to be here, so it's pretty much all in, and that's exactly what we're doing here, and it works. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, best of luck.